G'day guys, Toast20 here, welcome back to Mile Bay. Last episode we began work on the Mile Bay port, figuring out how this thing was going to look, but more importantly, how it was going to function. I'll usually encourage you guys to watch a previous video, but I'm not going to encourage you to watch this one. I really didn't like the way it turned out, and it wasn't for the build. In fact, I don't really mind these terrible intersections. I know a lot of people were really questioning the placement of these and the way they looked and probably the way that they functioned. I agree, they could definitely function a lot better. This one in particular, in fact, we're going to jump in and just try and figure out how this can work a lot better because I think we can probably make some improvements, definitely using some timed traffic lights, which I do in another intersection a little later on in the live play, but this one, I actually planned to come back to this one, but I forgot, so we might have to do that in the next episode. Yes, this is not the last episode, we will come back and do another one. But the reason why I don't really mind this intersection and even the one that we work on a little later on, which I think probably functions even worse than this one. But the reason why I don't really mind these intersections here is because I don't really mind bad examples of intersections within my cities. The cities that I build within this game, I want to best represent real life cities, and in real life, cities have terrible infrastructure. I mean, obviously there are examples of great infrastructure, but there is also examples of terrible intersections, terrible infrastructure. I've driven across plenty of bad intersections and interchanges and thought, why can't I turn left here? Why isn't there an off-ramp? Why can't I access the highway from this road? There's just so many times where I've sat in traffic and wondered these things. And usually it's because there's some sort of budget that the government had to use to build this, or if there's limited space or a nearby suburb or some sort of nature reserve that they cannot encroach on. You know, there's a whole bunch of reasons why infrastructure isn't always at its best. And I think that this one is a great example of just poorly built infrastructure. It's just not in the best location. Now, with that being said, I'm sure I've probably messed up this intersection at some point. I'm sure there's probably a lane that's not connected, or there's a U-turn that probably doesn't need to be made. You can let me know in the comments if there's like something easy I can fix, but I'm not about to just demolish it all and restart. I mean, we have 2 more episodes left, this one and another one. I reckon we just make do with how this thing looks at the moment and just move on. And then in terms of that last episode, just being so disappointed with it, it just wasn't really anything. You know, it felt like I could have combined this episode and the last episode together. That was actually the plan, and that's why it sort of felt a little bit disjointed, and then the music wasn't right, and I was a bit rushed putting it together. I think a lot of people think that I rushed it because I'm trying to finish Mile Bay. It's actually because I am trying to stick to my 2 episodes a week schedule, which is what I said I was going to do at the beginning of the year. But to be honest, it has been a bit of a struggle sometimes to get those videos out. Some weeks I'm fine, but other weeks it's just really hard to get that second video out. I'll be able to commit to that sometimes, but other times if it's just not going to happen, it's just not going to happen. But anyway, I just want to explain that. Let's get back to, well actually not even back to, let's start talking about this episode. Because we are finishing off the port that we started last week, and I wanted to start it off by placing down the different buildings and bits of detail within the time lapse, and then we're going to jump into a live play and work on just making it function a lot better, because it's definitely not going to function very well when we finish this time lapse, that's for sure. So I wanted this port to, and this is the first time I've done it this way, I wanted to try and include a lot of, if not all of, the warehouses for the different types of industry we have within Mile Bay. So previously when I've made ports, I have just placed down a lot of industry, whereas I think that it probably would be more realistic, not just probably, but it is definitely more realistic to have an industrial area like this next to the harbour, right next to a port, that is solely dedicated to just holding the supplies or even just the resources that is produced throughout the entire map. So if you were to think about it, in those other areas of Mile Bay, that's where it's all produced, that's where it is processed, and then it gets transported to this area where they hold it to then be exported elsewhere, or the other way around. You know, vehicles or boats would come in shipping containers would come in and then they'd store it within these facilities. So each warehouse that we are going to be building, I wanted to dedicate to some sort of industry that we have in Mile Bay. It gets pretty expensive and it was a bit of a gamble because I didn't know whether or not, this was just going to completely tank us. Obviously we're not making much money at this stage, but luckily we do make just a little bit of money. Like it does improve things a little bit more because I guess we have a lot of things being exported, within Mile Bay now, which is lovely, but it was a little bit scary for a while because I didn't really know whether or not this was even going to save. So what we are doing is we're just adding in those warehouses, but then I realized that our commercial demand was increasing. I guess because we are now, we've just done a lot on industry, then usually commercial is something that we need to work on. So I'm just going through and adding in pockets of commercial, and I just do a couple bits on camera, and then the rest I do off camera just to fulfill that demand and make it so that we can continue expanding out some more industry, because that is definitely the focus. I needed to make sure that we weren't going to completely lose money. So on top of warehouses, I also wanted to place down some industrial buildings for ore, because we didn't really have a very good connection to the outside world for any sort of ore production, and that is one of the biggest money makers. If the oil facility wasn't so close, I would have made something for oil, but it's already pretty well justified to pretty much leave it the way it is. We've got huge amounts of oil being produced and stored within that area, which I don't know if that's such a good thing, because being in just that one location, I think causes way more unnecessary traffic to be banked up. We've only got one road going towards that oil facility, and a lot is going on down there. So I think in hindsight, I probably should have built maybe the port in another location, or at least the oil should have gone somewhere else, so that we had multiple parts of the map exporting different goods, whereas this is kind of the one area that we're going to be doing it. So definitely should have probably placed it in other areas rather than just having it all in the same spot. But that's fine, because it does make it more interesting. But just placing down a lot of just props and containers are my go-to. I don't recommend using the vanilla containers. I recommend downloading the ones by Vanya. She's made incredible looking props for the containers. Incredible looking containers for props. No, that whole sentence sucks. I think you guys know what I'm trying to say. But I don't recommend doing it this way, but I'm just trying to show that you can find vanilla containers, but they are super bright. And the annoying thing with them is that it's not consistent. So you can actually see that the containers that are also that also come with the port are different. Like, they're longer, and even the ones that are on the train cargo hub is also different. And then when the shipping containers come in on the ships, then they're a different size as well. Just the same consistent size would have been really nice, but that's all right. We've got Avanya's. We're now just working around this awful looking roundabout. I don't think it's awful looking. It just doesn't function very well, but it's fine, because there's plenty of bad roundabouts out there, and this is just one of them. And I think that the train line going through it is just like a fun little touch there. I think it just makes it way more interesting. So just adding in some piles of dirt and some decals, but not a huge amount. It's kind of a bit of a strange area to detail, so I left it more open than trying to detail it. And then I went back to that intersection and tried to fix it up, but I didn't. I couldn't figure it out. I will actually go and work on some timed traffic lights in the live play. I've already recorded the live play, so we will go through and work on that, which is so much fun. I haven't really worked with timed traffic lights before. It's always sort of scared me, and I hadn't watched any tutorials, but I ended up binge watching a whole bunch of Yumble TV's tutorials on how to work them, which are so useful, and we found it really easy to follow along. So I will end up putting in some timed traffic lights, but not onto that one for some reason. That would have been a great example of timed traffic lights, but maybe we'll come back to that one in the next episode. We will be doing a cinematic before and after video, which was suggested by a lot of you guys in the last episode. So I think that'll be nice, actually. Something similar to what I did for Marble Mountain. We'll do some before and after shots, and then I'll go around and sort out some areas, because some areas I think still need a little bit of fixing up, but just a little bit. So just figuring out better functionality for that roundabout, I decided to put a bypass for vehicles that are trying to get to the port, because I figured they probably don't need to go around the roundabout. I think that probably works better for vehicles that are trying to leave the industrial area, get back onto the highway, so they can use that, and then vehicles that are just trying to get to the port have direct access, which works quite nicely. Speaking of the port, we are now starting to work on the shipping containers that are going to sit on the port. So this is, I mean, again, I think just use Avania's. They are much better. And plus she's gone through and added in a bunch of custom ones so they can see. I'm trying to remember the asset creators that she's put on there, but she's put some asset creators who have their own companies within City Skylines, which is just so fun. I really love that sort of fictional touch to, different parts of cities. And so, yeah, I highly recommend using those ones. But I am trying to make my own piles. And what I basically did was made one pile and then just copied it and deleted some, and then copied that one and deleted some extras, and that way we've got some variations with our piles, and even just rotating them too sort of helps to create a bit of variation. And because I am trying to make this as functional as possible and trying to make sure that we are including all the industry around Mile Bay, I placed down a couple more warehouses within this port, so it's not just dedicated to the port. We also have some warehouses too, but I figured we did need some sort of office space and other random industrial areas, and even some parking are placed there. This is this is not how ports look, but this is how they can look within City Skylines. It was actually kind of fun just not looking at any examples of ports and just kind of making it up. I said this in the last episode, but I think if I was ever going to have the excuse in a series of mine to just build, it would be Mile Bay. It's less looking at real life examples and more just sort of going, let's just place that there and place this there, and like have a bit more freedom. And I think that it was fun doing it this way, because I don't think I've really done it like that before. I've definitely looked at more examples from real life and trying to make it function in a real life way. This sort of functions within like a real life way, but there's a whole bunch of different things that I'm absolutely missing out on. Adding in those big airport lights adds so much. They're fantastic to use. Ports are super bright, so I wanted to make sure that we had some nice big lights just to really brighten this place up. And then I realized that the train line is very under detailed, and I wanted to do a train trip at some stage, so I needed to put a little bit of detail on this. So I am putting in just a bit of access to the ports through there, even though there's no true access, it's just a pretend access. And then just trying to make the port look a lot more blended in with the surrounding areas. You can also see that there are a lot of warehouses outside of this area, outside of the ports. I figured that was probably a good idea. We've already got so much traffic traveling around here that probably needed to dedicate some other areas for some warehouses, some more storage, and that way they can still find pretty good access to the ports rather than having to, try and get into that whole area. But it was very close to some of the suburbs around here, so I had to remove some of the houses and decided to build a park instead. I'm sure they appreciate that a lot more than being right next to some crazy noisy warehouse. But that is it for the time lapse. We're going to jump into a live play. I'm going to give some time traffic lights a go, and also just finish up this area. Make sure it's just looking a little bit better. Before we start working on this traffic situation, I have just noticed that we have another traffic situation in an unlikely place. Didn't expect to see this, but we've got a bit of this going on. What I'm going to have to do is just grab those nodes. We'll have this one down there. This one can come up like that. And then I find it easier to just copy and paste those nodes to align them up like that instead of dragging out a whole new one. They've got some problems when you drag them out over water, so this way I can just align them up a lot easier. And then hopefully if I remove the land that sits right there, then we shouldn't have an issue with boats getting stuck. And now the moment of truth. What? Okay. What are you doing? What? Why is that a thing? Okay, we've now got less land. Let's see what happens. Oh my god, dude. What? Okay. Alright, well, he's made it. It's there. Alright, now that we've fixed this mess, let's get back to the real star of the show, this mess. I mean, this is truly, truly, truly awful. We need to find a better way of getting cargo in and out of our port, because at the moment there is obviously just too many intersections. In an ideal world, this road here would probably be connected to this directly, and then it would probably connect straight up to our interchange. What I want to do is I want to work with what we got. I don't want to just drag out intersections and roads and make it work purely just to make it work. I want to try and make it work so that we're not disrupting the houses that are already here. We don't have to move expensive factories. If we have to move them, then yeah. But if we can avoid it, then that is even better. So what we're going to do is we're going to, oh my god, I just saw the money. Minus 60,000. What? Okay, we're going to have to take a loan out. That is terrible. Yeah, alright, I've already taken a loan out. We're going to take this one. So because we are losing so much money, I'm going to try and do as much as I can while on pause. First things first, I'm going to click on some of these vehicles where we have the most amount of traffic and see whereabouts they are trying to go. So this guy is trying to make a U-turn. Okay, how come you're not using this road here? That guy's going there. That guy's going there. Another U-turn. Another U-turn. Another U-turn. Okay, so clearly I have placed my U-turn in the wrong area. So let's just get rid of this. And I'm going to shuffle it up to this road up here. In fact, can I even go a bit further up? Maybe not. I'm just trying to think about this access here. So basically, the reason why I demolished that is because I don't think this road can access that U-turn, and any of the rubbish trucks leaving this facility, they can't access that U-turn. And you know what? That even sort of fits a bit better directly above the tunnel. But you know, I'm even just thinking about that U-turn and looking at this intersection. You know, just thinking about all the people who are... Where are you going? Thinking about all the people who are using this road as well. Probably could also... I mean, where are they going? Okay, so a lot of them are, in fact, just going down there. So probably... I was thinking we could potentially put another one there, but maybe we'll just see how this one goes. I will set up some of the connectors, just so that we can see this working well. You know what? Let's come back to this, because it's not working. And I'm gonna try something that I don't usually try. And I don't usually try it because I'm not very good at this sort of stuff with Traffic President mod, but I'm gonna give it a go because I think it's going to solve this situation a bit more. So I was thinking we could change some of these roads, we could make a slight small interchange, whatever. I think we could probably set up something with some timed traffic lights. I'm going to add a couple of steps so that when my lights are turning on, these guys are going to work together. I've selected both these nodes together, so they're going to act as one traffic light. So we'll add a step and then we can start controlling some of these lights. So I'm going to make it when this is a green light, we will have red lights for, let's see. I guess we can have a green light for people who are going straight, right? Yeah, that makes sense. And then a green light for people who are turning right. And I guess I don't want people turning left at that stage. So when this is a green light to go forwards, no one can turn left. Am I missing a step? I don't think so. I think that probably makes sense for the very first one. And we might just have to work with these ones a little later. So if I press add, that's going to change. That's going to be the next step, right? Add next step. Okay, that makes sense. So let's now change it so that That's also a green light. So this is for people who are turning left. I'm going to turn these ones off, and this one can be for if you're making a U-turn and if you're going straight into our port. And I think when that's going on, these guys are just going to have to set it a red light, and these guys can not go straight, but they can make, yeah, they can make a right-hand turn because we'll have multiple lanes there. Okay, and I'm going to press add. I really hope I'm doing this right. Let's add another step. I'm going to turn these ones off maybe? No, I might make it so that we can have some more left turns. These guys can go straight, and we'll give this road a go. So this can be turned on. They can keep turning right, and these guys are going straight. These guys are making a right. And add. Okay. I don't know if this is going to work. This is my first time setting one of these up. Let's just see how this goes. Let's press start and press play, and we'll see what happens. Okay, a little rough around the edges, but we're definitely getting there. What I'm going to do before I start making any changes to the actual functionality of the road is, well, the traffic lights, I have to say, is I'm going to make this a bit wider. So I'm going to go stretch, we'll go like maybe something 125. I'll do the same on this side. And then I'll give all these vehicles a bit more room just to make those turns, especially because a lot of these are much larger trucks, so I've got to give them plenty of space to make it around some of these pretty tight corners. And now let's change a couple of things. So these guys can only go straight, so we'll do that. I want these guys to stay in their lanes as they turn, so we'll say that guy can only go to that side and this guy has that option. This is only a one-way road, so I'm going to upgrade that so it's the same as that one. And then we can even say for these vehicles, if you are turning right, then just stay in the right lane. And that should solve a bit of all that banking over here. And then I want to try something. So let's go back into our timed traffic lights. I'm going to press show counters. No, not show counters. I want to press stop. And then I can edit. Okay. So at the moment, I've made it so these vehicles can do a U-turn. But I'm going to say no U-turns over there. We're going to say that only U-turns can be performed over there instead. And then that way we can remove vehicles doing U-turns. I think that's actually slowing us down a little bit. So let's see. Which state is that? So that way there's no U-turns being made. And I think that should work a little bit better. While I'm here, oops, did I press save? What do I need to press? I need to press start. Okay. And then I'm also going to remove any people walking across. I just think that it's probably not going to work out. And then we'll remove all parking, at least around here where it's a bit busy. People can, no parking. No parking on that road. Let's give that another look. Alright, I'm starting to really enjoy this because you can start to see where the faults in your traffic lights are lying. So now we've got that these are timed up. This one is now causing a bunch of problems. So let's work on that one, and then I think we should be able to solve what's going on around here. So basically, I'm going to start with no controller and extend that like that, just to give vehicles a little bit of extra space. Guys, we have officially been to hell and back. Oh man, we dropped to some serious negative numbers. We were about minus $350,000. It was really bad for a period, and I was thinking, oh man, I just set up all these timed lights and I'm about to go bankrupt and it's just game over. But luckily, we were just going through a really bad, and we're still on the tail end of it, but a real bad death wave, and I ended up having to zone out a bunch more high density residential areas. So we are now at 50,000 people, which is, I guess, probably as large as Mile Bay is ever going to get. 50,000 people. But let's focus back on this because we are back in the money and we have our timed traffic lights, which I must say are not totally perfect. Let's just speed it up so you can see it work its magic. I mean, of course, there's still traffic. It is a busy area, and I have to admit, I don't mind seeing traffic like that because I think that this is a busy area, and to see no traffic in an area like this, I actually kind of feel like is a little bit unrealistic. So it is a busy area. We have still a bit of traffic, let's be honest, but I really love seeing that traffic flow. Those timed traffic lights, I'm going to have to use them a lot more. I've just been scratching the surface, which is actually kind of exciting because it means that, well, I mean, I've been playing this game for a long time now, and there's still so much still that I am learning and experimenting with. And if I was going to learn anything from Mile Bay, is that there is still so much to learn within the game. This is the first series, the first time I've played with milestones, and I mean, let's finish off by checking out what milestone we're at. Okay, well, that's pretty fun. No, we're not there. We're here. That's something else you need to remember, is that just because it takes us to that one doesn't mean we're there yet. So, I mean, we've done pretty well. I'm pretty impressed with how far we've come with this series. And of course, we do have one more episode left. It is going to be a bit more of a cinematic before and after video to showcase all the things that we've been building over this series, 22 episodes, but that should be up next week. Guys, thank you all so much for watching this one. Special thanks to the wonderful people over on Patreon supporting the channel: Cameron Inglis, X313, Dan Dobson, Harry Smith, Murph90210, Compacted Germ 3, Jibber, Robert Major, Aces Punk, Thomas Riley, Nick Kashab, Ginnister, Sebastian Hasselberg, Axaris, Douglas Lee, Michael Danger, and Jim Royster. Guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!